Adventures of Todd and Suzy. Written by H. Paul Cote. Read by Tony Smith. Enjoy a magical mystery tour of historical locations as Todd and Suzy investigate the past in a time machine. Take the journey with its brother and sister as they go into the past and feel the excitement while they watch history unfold with the ones that made it. Even if you're not a history buff, the book is still very educational. You'll still find it exciting to travel with them. Intended for readers of age 8 and up to the adult kid. Feel the passion and excitement when you visit the past with the Wright brothers, the first aviators. Thomas Edison, an inventor and businessman. Albert Einstein, the inventor Alexander Bell. South End Grounds Baseball Park in Boston. The Big Boston Fire. The Boston Tea Party. Know the true history. President Abraham Lincoln. Amelia Earhart, famous aviator. Florence Nightingale, the founder of the Red Cross. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights leader for freedom. And enjoy an overnight steamboat ride down the Mississippi. The book holds 244 pages and 204 pictures, along with 12 plus blended stories. The book will make enjoyable reading for hours upon end. Chapter 1. It was the middle of the hot, steamy summer, and school had just let out for their summer break. Todd, Suzy, and Annabelle, their mom, were moving to Missouri to help take care of their grandmother. Their granddad had died a few years earlier, leaving Grandma by herself. She had been sick some time now, and the doctors believed it was related to working at a chemical plant, where pesticides were produced for 12 years. She was beginning to show symptoms that had forced her into early retirement. When Annabelle and the kids arrived, everybody was excited to see one another. Grandma was sitting on the porch with a big grin, happy to see her family. Todd and Suzy ran their way up the porch to hug her tight. "Welcome home, sweeties." She pinches Todd's cheek and kisses Suzy's. "I've missed you two so much." "Ouch! That hurts, Grandma." Todd rubs his cheek while Suzy just giggles. "We've missed you too, Granny." Leaning against a post, Annabelle couldn't help but laugh at her son's well. "All right, you two. Why don't you head on in and let me and Grandma catch up for a sec?" After settling in, Todd and Suzy start to head out the front door to the yard. Annabelle begins to holler for them. "Come here! Let me talk to you." Now, you know everywhere we live, there's always some rules that we all have to abide by. And your grandmother is asking y'all to please stay away from that cave at the back of the property. It's very dangerous. That cave's been there for a long time. And the timbers that help to hold up that cave are very old. That old mining shaft was abandoned because it was unsafe to work in. "Well, can we play in the barn then?" Todd asked hastily. Their mother turns back around with a confused look on her face. "I believe the barn will be okay. But don't be pulling anything out of there. Your granddad stored a lot of things in that barn before he died. Also, I need to talk to you about school. You know your grandma cannot get around very well. She needs someone that can take care of her, like me. And I'm really considering moving up here. which means you'll be starting a new school and making new friends. I'm sure you'll become close to them, just like you did with the others back home. What do you think about that? Suzy says, I understand that, and I love being around Granny anyhow. If we can help her, I think we should. I just hate starting a new school where I don't know anybody, but I guess I can get used to it. Then Todd says, I don't mind starting a new school. I didn't like the old one anyhow. But I was wondering, could we eventually get a horse? Annabelle laughs and says, well, maybe we can. We'll see about that after we're settled in for a while when you're back in school. If you two try to keep your grades up. Then, and only then, I'll ask around and see if someone might have a horse for sale. But you know, it costs to keep a horse. There's feed, veterinary bills, saddle, a blanket, harness. All this adds up. But if you work with me and try to do good in school, then yes, I'll ask around. The next day, Annabelle left the kids at home for a while. She had an appointment set up with her mother's doctor because Mama wasn't doing well at all. Annabelle was hoping that maybe the doctor could change her mother's meds, yet she didn't seem to be improving from her symptoms at all. Todd says, Suzy, let's go look for Freddy. See if it's okay. Remember when we gave that dog to Grandma, right? Right after Granddaddy died? He was so small and cute and fuzzy. Yeah, I remember. Them folks we got him from said he was a yellow lab, Suzy replies. Well, I haven't seen him all morning, and his food is still in his dish. I don't get it. He might be hurt from that storm last night. The TV news had said there were strong winds that touched down in places, blowing some trees down and roots off the barns. We need to look around the yard, maybe look behind that barn in the pasture. Todd and Suzy began looking for Freddy. They search out of the front yard and down the side of the house, calling for him. There's no sign of the dog. They head on in the backyard, calling for him. Freddy! Where you at, Freddy? Come here, boy! We should look in the barn, Todd suggests. Maybe he's in there. He could be hurt. They climb over the wooden fence next to the barn and go into the front entrance, still calling for Freddy. They search every horse stall as they make their way to the back of the barn, but Freddy wasn't in there. Opening the back door to leave, Suzy says, Todd, you need to go look in the field. You know he's got to be somewhere. He would never leave Grandma alone like that. She's had him for years, ever since he was a puppy. I remember we come up here to visit Grandma that summer, and Mother brought her that puppy. That's when she knew Freddy. Todd and Suzy begin to look out in the fields. There's a lot of area to cover here. Grandma got lots of property. Some covered in trees, but then she also got them 2 fenced-in pastures. They continue looking and calling for him. Todd, you think you can climb up in this tree? You might can see him from up there. Todd begins climbing and finds a good limb to sit on. Then, while lifting his hand up to block the sunlight from his eyes, he says in a concerned voice, If he's hurt, he could be anywhere out here. He might be lying below in the grass. Suzy walks out a few feet in the pasture. The grass is tall and it reaches just below her knees. She turns to look back at Todd as he jumps down from the tree. Afraid Freddy may be hurt, Todd and Suzy continue looking for their friend in the pasture. Chapter 2. It's not long until they find themselves on the far side of the property near the highway. Freddy's a smart boy. He knows to stay out of the road, says Todd. But worried he might have been hit by a car, they look down the road in their search for him. After a few minutes, certain they won't find Freddy on the road, they turn their efforts to follow the fence. Next to the big mountain, that goes across the back of the grandmother's property. Todd notices that it turned out to be a pretty day considering the bad storm they had the night before. It's still cloudy, but the clouds are more blue and white than black. They both stop and sit down on the ground, gathering their thoughts on Freddie. As they were sitting on their knees, Todd rolls over to lay on the ground, as the sun was making him feel tired. The soft, green grass being much more comfortable than it appears. Looking up at the sky, he began searching for images in clouds. Look at that one! It looks like a pig's head. I can see its tail. Suzy giggles. Just then, the wind starts to pick up, and they feel a couple of drops of rain landing on them. If we don't find Freddie soon, we'll have to go back to the house without him. At this, they both jump back onto their feet so as to continue their search. They continue on down the mountainside the fence line and come across the cave that their mother was talking about. That old cave, closed off so long ago that the boarded up in. That old cave, closed off so long ago that the boarded up entrance began to rot and the boards were falling off. But they still don't see Freddie. You know, Suzy says, if I was a dog and I couldn't make it back to the barn in time, I'd go up in that there cave away from the weather. He might be in the cave, Todd. You know we was told to stay away from that cave, Suzy. Grandma and Mama gave us strict orders on that. They said it because it's an old mining cave from the early 1800s. Even though someone's been boarded up, it's still unsafe because of them timbers inside. Them overhead joists that hold the ceiling are weakened, and she thinks someone's begun to fall in. Well, I don't know where else to look for Freddie. I think he got in that cave because the bad weather frightened him. Can't we at least walk up to the opening and look? I got the flashlight. I brought it from the house. We can shine it up in there. Just see if we can see him. Maybe he's hurt. Remembering the warning from their mother, but being more so overwhelmed by the fear something bad had happened to their four-legged friend, they decided to go against their mother's better judgment. Standing next to the boards on the ground opening, they look inside, calling out, Freddie! Come on, boy! Freddie! Hand me your flashlight, Suzy, so I can shine it up in there. As Todd begins to shine the light around the cave, he can tell it's very long and dark, maybe even deep in the ground. From where they're standing, they can see that there are some more boards inside, but they can't see or hear Freddie, so they turn around and head back to the house.
Hi, my name is Robert. I was asked to give a book review. The book I picked was The Mask That They Wear by H. Paul Cote. The reason I picked this book is because it is inspired by true stories of as horrifying as they are. The book is loaded with suspense and drama, and it's based on the stories of girls and young women being abducted and forced to sell their bodies either in a brothel or on the streets at the mercy of a pimp. Many of them are forced to do addicting drugs so they are easier to control. The sad thing is this is still going on even today. This book gives you the opportunity to go behind the curtains and see how some of these girls were forced to live. Once I started reading this book, I didn't stop until I finished. Every page made me want to read the next.
I read it. Okay, well, half of it, but I read half of it and I loved it. But you trust my opinion? You can read it once. It is at least like 4 stories in one. The chapters pass back and forth between different characters with different perspectives and different situations, and even different writing styles. For example, Howling Candenza's chapters, his mother is like a militant grammarian, so his chapters are very well spoken, who's written with a heavy accent and liberal use of slang. This makes a significant contribution to the plot. There are so many characters, and each of them is kind of quirky and weird in their own interesting way, and so you're just bound to find someone you get emotionally invested in. And is wonderfully postmodern without being...
It's The Adventures of Todd and Suzy. It's a really great adventurous book. It makes you feel like you're there, actually, when you read it. And I read it to my son and daughter at night when they go to bed. It's about these 2 kids for a time machine, and they go back in time to a bunch of historical places. The way the book is laid out, you feel like you're there. And especially in the story in Ford's Theater, you can almost hear the bullet ring out just before it hits the President Lincoln. Now, besides all that I learned a lot more about history, there's also a part that are about Martin Luther King, Albert Einstein, Wright brothers, Emily Earhart. I can't remember all of them, but you also go on a river.
I love this book. It is amazing. It's just this great guy. You could go on and on about him. He wrote this book. It's kind of like autobiographical, just with like, his experiences with like loving people, and like it's just a heartwarming, hilarious read, and it just makes you like want to go and give everyone a hug. I think it's one of those books I want to reread like every year, like to get me back in the like mindful head. What's the word? Mindful mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's just really, really good, and I highly recommend it. So if you're looking for some nonfiction that's going to make you smile and make you feel good and kind of motivate you, or if you're feeling blue, that will like bring you out of the dumps and make you kind of have a happier, more light.
Every sentence in the novel is amazing. Every single character is unforgettable, and the book is funny. Don't trust me, it's gonna make you laugh so much that you're gonna cry, and then it's gonna tear your heart off your chest, and then you're gonna cry for real. It is sad because it shows you the sadness of the world, but at the same time it doesn't take your face and push it in the dirt for 500 pages. It's a very, as I said, genuine kind of sadness. It's an amazingly entertaining book, thrilling. It basically features like 3 or 4 books that are mixed together in a single masterpiece, so you always have something to keep you interested, and the level keeps growing and growing, and you think, oh my god, this is the best masterpiece I've ever read, and then the last lines come along and you say like, oh okay, this is better than the fucking Divine Comedy. No, I swear, that is something I love in book. It happens in Sweet Tooth, in Barney's version.
I really hope this book gets as much hype as it deserves. Fantastic, fantastic, fast-paced dystopian novel. It's, I think, it's like 430 pages. Literally flew through it. It's so good. There's just never a dull moment in this book. It's literally bit of action after bit of action after bit of action after bit of action. I can't give this book enough praise. So those are the 13 books that I thought were...
devoured it, pretty much. I loved it. This book is amazing, and I really want to read the 3 more, are there? I love this. Things that I didn't know about, and now I do. It's good to know them, because I value my life differently after reading this book. And those are books that I need in my life. And this is good. It's a good book. It's such a good book. I don't know what else to say. Just read it. Now, my favorite book. But this book, man, the emotions, the characters, the storyline, the end, the feels, all the feels. I can't deal with this. This had me bawling my eyes out. Oh, so many times. And I couldn't stop reading it, and it was so good.